Chapter 169. Yi-Chen didn't wake up until the evening. His iron-like skin didn't wrinkle after being soaked in the hot water. Instead, he looked even more energetic. After changing into a clean set of clothes, Yi-Chen walked out of the room and went downstairs. "Sir, let me show you to a private room." There were many waiters in this restaurant. This one wasn't the one Yi-Chen had seen before, but he wasn't stupid. He knew that people who could afford expensive rooms would definitely be able to afford a private room. After all, a night in Jinhua restaurant cost 50 taels of gold, which was equivalent to 500 taels of silver. Yi-Chen nodded. He was indeed hungry. Jinhua restaurant had 5 floors. The 4th and 5th floors were guest rooms, the 3rd and 2nd floors were private rooms, and only the 1st floor was the main hall, which could accommodate many people. At the door of the 6th private room on the 3rd floor, the waiter pushed the door open, bowed and said, "This is the best private room of our restaurant, please come in." Walking in, Yi-Chen took a quick glance at the private room. The environment of the private room was very good. It could even be called luxurious. On the east side of the room there was a huge window, from which he could see the street outside. However, this wasn't too strange for him. He quickly turned his eyes back and said, "Bring us all the specialties of your restaurant, and 3 pots of good wine, the stronger the better." "All right, please wait a moment." After the door was closed, Yi-Chen sat on a leather chair in front of the table. After watching the street for a while, Yi-Chen felt bored. So he took out a sheathed longsword from his storage ring. Clang! He pulled out the sword and a cold sword light shone. As the sword light faded away, one could see the long and thin lines on the body of the sword, which looked like coiling dragons. The Dragon Spring Sword, the best sword produced by the Sky Cloud Martial School. It's indeed one grade higher than the Hidden Cloud Sword. Holding the sword, Yi-Chen slashed at the air. Puff! Without using any Zhen Qi, the air was cut open by the sharp edge of the sword. The process was very smooth without any hindrance. Putting the sword back into its sheath, Yi-Chen thought to himself, the Dragon Spring Sword is basically the best weapon an ordinary warrior can make, but I wonder how to make a graded treasure, and how to store those special energies in it, so that it can increase a warrior's attacking power. Great weapons were not something that normal martial institutions could make. Even rank 7 martial institutions could not do it. Most of the great weapons in the Windy Nation came from the outside world, or were found in some ruins. If one wanted to make one themselves, it would be extremely hard, even harder than reaching the astral reaching realm. At least there was still a way to reach the astral reaching realm, but no one knew how to make great weapons. The Hidden Cloud Sword had been destroyed, and Ji Hao couldn't find a suitable low-rank sword for the time being. Fortunately, the Dragon Spring Sword was not bad. Except for the fact that it couldn't release sword chi by itself, it was much harder than the Hidden Cloud Sword. Therefore, Ji Hao should be able to use it for a period of time. Of course, if he had the chance, he would still buy a low-rank sword. A series of knocks came from the door. Yi-Chen put the Dragon Spring Sword back into his storage ring. Creak! 4 waiters walked in with dishes in their hands. The leading waiter smiled and said, "Dear guest, our Gale City is located in the Great Devil Grassland. There are countless demonic beasts here, and the most special dishes are the demonic beasts recipes. Please try it, it's definitely fresher and more tender than ordinary meat." "I've heard about this before. Can you introduce some dishes to me?" "Alright, this dish is called Phoenix Spreading Wings. It's made from the wings of a rank 3 demonic beast, Red Smelting Bird, cooked through 18 steps. This dish is called Old Tree Blooming. It's made from the gallbladder of a rank 2 demonic beast, Iron Gut Snake. Step by step, it's made from the meat of a bamboo snake, Mountain Snow. It's made from a rank 3 demonic beast." The waiter seemed to have practiced this before. He listed all the dishes on the table in one breath, without pausing in the middle, and finished everything in one go. Yi-Chen tasted one of the dishes and found that it tasted surprisingly good. What's more, the yuan qi contained in the meat hadn't completely dissipated. For ordinary people, it was definitely a great tonic. "Alright, you can leave now." Yi-Chen poured himself a glass of wine and waved his hand to let them leave. Perhaps it was a habit, but while eating, Yi-Chen subconsciously spread out his soul power, covering the surrounding 500 meters. Yi-Chen furrowed his brows. In the private room next door. "Captain, didn't we agree to pay when the person arrives?" Why do we still need to monitor him? There were two people sitting at the table, and the one who spoke was the captain of the guards at the city gate. However, he had changed out of his soldier's armor and put on a warrior's uniform. The captain, who was also wearing a warrior's uniform, said, "That person's strength is even higher than the lieutenant. We can't provoke him. Forget it, let's continue to monitor him. Anyway, we've endured for so many days, we don't have to worry about 1 or 2 days. When the time comes, we'll have 100,000 gold and 100 low-rank spirit stones. I'm not afraid of getting tired. I'm afraid that the other party won't pay. That shouldn't be possible. I think he has a high status that gold and spirit stones are nothing to him." "I hope so." The two of them kept their voices low. They thought that they could hide it from the others, but little did they know that all of this had already fallen into Yi Chen's senses. "It seems that I'm the target? The multiple mountain martial school is too far away from here, so it's not possible. It's probably the Purple Sun Martial School." Back in the Heavenly Dream Ancient region, Ouyang Lai and Ouyang Ming were determined to kill them, and Yi Chen believed that the Purple Sun Martial School's leaders were involved. Yi Chen's expression remained unchanged. He kept eating and drinking, as if nothing had happened. After dinner, Yi Chen went back to the guest room on the 4th floor to rest. Late at night, the silhouette sat on the bed with his legs crossed and slowly let out a breath. The 6th level of the Great Mystery Art had been achieved. At this moment, the pure Jun Zhen Qi inside Yi Chen's body had disappeared, and was replaced by the purer and greater Great Mystery Qi. The Zhen Qi spiral formed by the Great Mystery Zhen Qi was 10% larger than the pure Jun Zhen Qi spiral. It had a light blue color, and was extremely pure. It looked like the airflow formed by a light blue crystal. It was lively yet steady, and it was pure yet lethal. My cultivation hasn't improved, but my power has improved. I wonder what will the 7th level of the Great Mystery Art be like. Yi Chen didn't feel sleepy at all. He walked out of the bed. Yes. What made him a bit speechless was that moaning sounds came from the room next to his. Even though he had never experienced it before, he knew what the other party was doing. "Sleep early. I'll leave tomorrow morning." With a bitter smile, Yi Chen tried his best to suppress his boiling blood, and went back to bed. What? He just came yesterday and he's leaving today? In a private room of a restaurant, Zhu Liang's eyebrows twitched as he said in a low voice. The captain lowered his head and said, "Yes, he paid for the room not long ago," and left the Great Jinhua restaurant, heading towards the East City Gate. "Damn you! Can't I kill you again this time?" Zhu Liang felt that he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he pressed his palm on the purple vibrating wood table next to him. Without making any sound, the wooden table was burned into nothingness. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. The captain was so scared that he didn't even dare to breathe, fearing that Zhu Liang would slap him into ashes. After a long while, Zhu Liang calmed down, took out a small box from his storage ring, stood up and said, "There are 10,000 gold and 10 low-rank soul stones in here." After saying that, he lifted his foot and was about to leave. The captain froze for a second, then forced a smile and said, "Sir, didn't we agree on 100,000 gold and 100 low-rank soul stones? You still dare to ask for gold and low-rank soul stones? Do you believe that I won't kill you with one slap?" Zhu Liang's cold voice came. Don't. The captain had never been so frustrated before, but in front of Zhu Liang he had to endure it no matter how frustrated he was. He thought to himself, "It looks like you don't have the confidence to kill that guy. Alright, I hope you get killed by him." Walking out of the restaurant, Zhu Liang rushed towards the East City Gate as fast as the wind. "Yi Chen, I will never let you get away this time. I will follow you for now. When the few leaders of the hunting hall arrive, it will be your death day." Last time Zhu Liang was severely injured by a demonic beast in the Silent Hills. He had to rest for 3 months to fully recover, but when he fully recovered, he learned that Yi Chen had severely injured the multiple mountain martial school's head elder, who was a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, with a single sword attack. This was definitely a heavy blow to him, because he was only a peak-level early clasping Yuan realm martial artist. He was no longer a match for Yi Chen. Otherwise, he would have gone after Yi Chen by himself long ago, instead of sending people to keep an eye on him and wait for the hunting hall's leader to arrive. However, the leader of the hunting hall still needed half a day to arrive, so he didn't have much time left. Walking out of the East City Gate, Zhu Liang activated his flying art and flew as fast as lightning. Soon Zhu Liang saw the back of a young man, who was wearing a bamboo hat. Unhurriedly moving forward, Yi Chen released his soul power to its limit. He could sense everything within a radius of 1,000 meters. He's here. Without turning his head around, Yi Chen had already pictured the young man's face in his mind with only his soul power. It was a man with a scar on his face. He seemed to have seen this young man before during the inner disciple ranking competition. Back then, this young man was an invited guest, sitting together with other famous martial artists. Without slowing down, Yi Chen flew towards a less populated area. Something's wrong. Does he know that I am following him? Zhu Liang's eyelids twitched. Before, he dared to follow Yi Chen directly because there were a lot of clasping Yuan realm martial artists, which made it less noticeable. But now, within a radius of a few miles, there was no one else. Right at this moment, Yi Chen turned around and looked at him with a faint smile on his face. Run! Without thinking about anything else, Zhu Liang activated his Zhan Qi to its limit, turned around and prepared to run. You can't get away. Unknowingly, another Yi Chen had appeared behind Zhu Liang, blocking his way. What's going on? Zhu Liang turned around and saw that the previous Yi Chen had disappeared along with the wind. It was actually a Zhan Qi silhouette, not the real Yi Chen. What do you want? Zhu Liang tried to stay calm. Stroking his storage ring, Yi Chen said blandly, if I'm not wrong, your identity as a martial artist is just a disguise. Your real identity is an elder of the Purple Sun Martial School, am I right? In rank 7 institutions, martial artists who had reached the clasping Yuan realm were qualified to become outer elders. Of course, if one was a disciple before, one could temporarily not become an outer elder. Once one's cultivation reached a certain level, one could directly become an inner elder and hold a part of the power of the school. Don't joke around. I'm just a martial artist. Yi Chen sneered, and the dragon spring sword appeared in his hand. Chapter 170. Don't waste your time, you're going to die today. As soon as the word die came out of his mouth, the dragon spring sword flew out of its sheath and swung towards Zhu Liang, who was 10 steps away from him. Zhu Liang had been prepared for this. His fire-attributed Zhan Qi surged out of his body and transformed into a huge fireball. The temperature of the fireball was incredibly high, and tiny sparks of flame fell off from it, burning fist-sized black holes on the ground and raising a puff of smoke. With the protection of the fireball, Zhu Liang's confidence was boosted. He thought to himself, my scorching sun protective art has already reached the highest level, the 9th level. Even if I can't take the opponent's attack, I won't be broken by a single sword attack. As for that multiple mountain martial school's head elder, he was too careless. Puff! The light blue sword Qi instantly hacked on the fireball, and a terrifying cutting power burst out, bringing up tens of thousands of fire sparks. Before Zhu Liang realized what was going on, his defensive Zhan Qi had already been broken, and his right arm was sent flying away. I am the Purple Sun Martial School's intelligence elder. How dare you kill me? If you kill me, you'll die too. Even if you run to the end of the world, you won't be able to escape. The bone-piercing pain made Zhu Liang's face twist. Only until now did he realize that Yi Chen was indeed too powerful for him to handle. Therefore, he didn't have the time to worry about his own injuries, and crazily boosted up his Zhan Qi, darted out and yelled, "Cut!" Yi Chen didn't move at all. Instead, he launched another even more powerful sword Qi. Puff! While he was on his way, Zhu Liang's body was split into two. Blood gushed out and dyed a large patch of grass red. Not bad, but too bad, not as good as Hong Qianjun. Shaking his head, Yi Chen waved his hand, and Zhu Liang's right arm flew over, then shattered into pieces, leaving only a storage ring in his hand. Injecting his Zhan Qi into the storage ring, Yi Chen quickly expelled the remaining Zhan Qi from Zhu Liang's body and opened the space inside. This guy is quite rich. A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. In the small space there were a total of 50 big chests and 30 small chests. The big chests contained 100,000 gold taels, and the small chests contained 10,000 gold taels. In addition, there was a pile of low-grade spirit stones. A rough estimate showed that there were at least 20,000 of them, which was equivalent to 8 million gold taels. As for the other things, Yichen did not care about them. Raising his head, Yichen looked in the direction of the Gale City and mumbled to himself, "The Purple Sun Martial School wouldn't just send out an intelligence elder to kill me. There should be more powerful ones behind me. I should leave first." Using the shadow clone technique, Yichen raised his speed to the limit. In just a few blinks of an eye, he was already several miles away. When he looked again, he was nowhere to be found. A long time after Yichen left, 3 silhouettes flew over. Their speed was so fast that they left a purple wave of air behind them. It was gorgeous and domineering. Bang! 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 A few huge cracks appeared on the ground. 3 silhouettes landed on the ground. One was a middle-aged man with a gloomy face, one was an ugly elder, and the last one was a muscular man with a full beard. The 3 of them looked very different, but the aura they emitted was equally dangerous. Glancing at Zhu Liang's dead body, the gloomy middle-aged man's face became colder and colder. Useless thing. You can't even follow someone well. What a waste of your title as the intelligence elder of the Purple Sun Martial School. Good, this little brat did not go far. With our speed, we will catch up with him soon. The ugly elder laughed and said, "Our speed is close to the speed of sound. This little brat will not be able to run away. Let's go." The muscular man did not smile, but he was obviously the leader of the 3. After giving the order, the 3 of them jumped up from the ground and flew into the distance. Soon they disappeared into the horizon. The Great Devil Prairie was thousands of miles in radius, and there were countless beasts. At this moment, Yichen was blocked by a black crowned serpent, a 6th-rank demonic beast. This black crowned serpent is faster than me. It can fly in the air with its beast chi. Fortunately, it is only an ordinary 6th-rank demonic beast, which is equal to a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. I can barely defeat it. Otherwise, I would have to pay a big price to leave today. Standing still, Yichen looked at the black-crowned serpent up and down. This black-crowned serpent was over 40 meters long, and its coiled body looked like a small hill. The scales on its body were as big as human heads, shining with a black luster. On its huge head there was a black crown which made it look quite terrifying. Croak, croak, croak. Different from ordinary snake-type demonic beasts, this black-crowned serpent's voice was no longer a hiss, but a high-pitched cry, which sounded like the cry of a baby. Mountain Condensed Sword Chi. Before the black-crowned serpent made any move, Yichen launched the first attack. He unsheathed the dragon spring sword and released a mountain-thick stream of sword chi. The black-crowned serpent was enraged. It swung its water-tank-thick tail horizontally, scraped off a layer of the ground and heavily bumped against the light blue sword chi. The black-crowned serpent didn't even have the time to release its power before it was shattered by the tail, turning into countless tiny pieces of sword chi, splashing in all directions. It seems that the multiple mountain martial school's head elder is quite powerful, said Yichen with a serious look. His body flashed across the air, leaving a shred of Zhan Qi silhouette behind. Puff! Once the shred of Zhan Qi silhouette was formed, it was minced into pieces by the black-crowned serpent's tail. Meanwhile, Yichen had already floated up into the air and launched a light hack down towards the black-crowned serpent. Supreme Shocking Cloud. The sword chi dazzled across the air, along with a thunderous boom. A huge wound was cut open on the black-crowned serpent's body, from which gray-red blood gushed out like a fountain. The black-crowned serpent screamed towards the sky in pain. The strong sound waves spread out and shattered the surrounding grassland, sending grass pieces flying in all directions. High up in the air, a middle-aged man with a sallow skin, wearing a large blue robe, was pouring wine into his mouth from a wine calabash. Seeing this, he laughed and said, "This kid is not bad at such a young age. He has already reached the highest level of the Shocking Cloud sword art. He even has the sword intent. No wonder that old bastard Cloud Dreamer asked me to protect him and kill some ants." This middle-aged man in a blue robe was actually an astral-reaching realm powerful martial artist, Thunder Freer. Wiping the wine off his mouth corner, Thunder Freer shook his head and said, "What a shame. This black-crowned serpent is not so easy to deal with. Even martial artists at the same level would have to stay away from it. It's one of the dominators of the Great Devil Grassland, many times more powerful than the Wind Vulture. which only relies on its speed. Down on the ground, the black-crowned serpent's eyes turned blood-red because of the pain. Then it spurted out a fan-shaped beam of black light towards Yi-chan. Wherever the black light reached, the ground would be corroded, leaving a tens of meters wide hole, and the black liquid would emit a strong stinky smell. Watch out! Yi-chan's body flashed across the air, leaving a series of Zhanqi afterimages in the air. Pop, 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 the Zhanqi afterimages were instantly swept away by the black light, disappearing into thin air. Dodging the black light, Yi-chan landed hundreds of meters away, murmured to himself, "It seems like I have to use the one-sword attack." While talking, he took a step forward with his right foot, holding the sword with both of his hands and swung the sword out. Swoosh! The sword chi condensed into a beam of white light, darted out at an unimaginable speed, and hacked on the black-crowned serpent's head. The black-crowned serpent didn't even have the time to dodge, and a huge gap appeared on its head. Even its skull was damaged. It had already developed a trace of intelligence, so it didn't dare to risk its life against Yi-chan anymore. The beast chi around its body surged, rolled it up, and flew out to 300 meters away within the blink of an eye. Whew! Letting out a deep breath, Yi-chan was secretly shocked. The black-crowned serpent was only an ordinary rank 6 demonic beast, but it was already so powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that he had mastered one of the most powerful ancient sword arts, the one sword refining, he would have been the one running away, and he might not even have been able to escape. Before the first wave died down, another wave came. Yi-chan turned around, and sensed 3 extremely powerful auras approaching him. They were even a bit faster than the black-crowned serpent, and it was impossible for him to dodge. Haha die! Miles away, the 3 Taoists darted over. The middle-aged man on the left reached out his right hand and pressed it in the air. Instantly, a scorching palm made of Zhanqi sliced through the air and attacked. Late clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Facing such a great danger, Yi-chan didn't panic. He once again performed the one-sword attack. A beam of white light pierced through the palm made of Zhanqi and exploded. The middle-aged man was surprised. Although his palm attack seemed to have been launched from miles away, it still contained 70 to 80% of its power. Even a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist would be killed by it, but this kid managed to resist it for a while. No wonder he was one of the top geniuses in the 9 nations. We can't let this kid live, the sturdy man said coldly. The middle-aged man and the ugly elder nodded. Recently, the Purple Sun Martial School had lost too many geniuses, and they were no longer as powerful as the Sky Cloud Martial School. If Yi-chan was allowed to grow, the Purple Sun Martial School would no longer be able to suppress the Sky Cloud Martial School. Instead, they would be suppressed by the Sky Cloud Martial School, which was something they couldn't accept. The 3 of them moved at an amazing speed, and covered miles in just a few blinks of an eye. Shoo! 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 The 3 of them landed on the ground, and stared at Yi-chan as if he was a dead man. You are from the Purple Sun Martial School? Yi-chan's expression didn't change. The ugly elder grinned and said with an evil intention, "You are quite calm. You have the chance to become someone great. That's right, we are the leaders of the hunting hall. We are responsible for hunting the enemies of our martial school. You are so young, and you are already our target. You should be proud of yourself." Yi-chan responded blandly, "I won't die today." "Hee. Do you really think someone will come and save you?" The middle-aged man grinned. He was not in a hurry to attack. After all, there were 3 late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists here. What else could Yi-chan do? Maybe you don't know yet, but before I left, I had a secret discussion with the leader and the head elder. They said that they would send a powerful warrior to protect me before I leave the Windy Nation. If I guessed it right, this powerful warrior should be nearby. He just hasn't shown up yet. Yi-chan was telling the truth. He knew that he was the most powerful warrior among the young generation of the Windy Nation, but compared to the powerful warriors from the older generation, he was still much weaker. Therefore, the leader and the head elder didn't trust him, and said that there would be a powerful warrior protecting him all the way until he left the Windy Nation. However, he still didn't know who would be protecting him. I would like to see where the powerful warrior is. Come out. The middle-aged man didn't believe what Yi-chan had said. Besides, this grassland was flat and they could see everything clearly. A powerful warrior would never be able to hide from them. Pop! Once he said this, a 1-meter-thick lightning bolt descended from the sky and struck on the middle-aged man's body at an unimaginable speed. This late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist didn't even have a chance to fight back before his entire body was turned into ashes. The ground under his body was punctured by the lightning bolt for hundreds of meters deep. Not only Yi Chan, even the sturdy man and the ugly elder gasped. Their fine hairs stood up. Chapter 171. The tall and sturdy man yelled towards the sky, "Thunder Freer, do you know what the consequence of killing the leader of our Purple Sun Martial School is? You still have a chance to leave now. Do you want to be chased by the Great Master again?" The ugly elder was not as calm as the tall and sturdy man. He knew that his life was in the hands of the Great Master. If the Great Master was determined to kill them, running away would be useless. He could only hope that the Great Master of the Purple Sun Martial School would scare the Great Master away and make him give up on protecting Yi Chan. Boom! An even thicker thunder arc struck down. It split in half and hit the tall and sturdy man and the ugly elder respectively. The two of them followed in the footsteps of the middle-aged man. Even their protective Zhanqi had been shattered by the thunder arc. 2 deep holes appeared on the ground. Thunder and fire were burning inside. Tiny electric arcs were everywhere, floating in the air and making cracking noises. Is this the power of an astral-reaching realm warrior? After coming back to his senses, Yi Chan immediately realized that it was an astral-reaching realm warrior who was protecting him. But what shocked him was that the 3 late-clasping Yuan realm warriors did not even have the chance to fight back before they were turned into ashes by the thunder arc that came from the sky. The gap between the two of them was way too huge. Swoosh! In the sky, a beam of thunder light tore apart the clouds and shot down at a speed that was way faster than the speed of sound. Vaguely, a human figure could be seen within the thunder light. In the next second, the thunder light disappeared. The human figure flashed and landed near Yi Chan. He mumbled, "It would have been better if you didn't mention the fire bastard. But now that you have mentioned him, I will not let you go." Yi Chan took a deep breath, bowed and cupped his hands. "Thank you, Thunder Freer, for saving my life." Turning his head, Thunder Freer laughed. "Cloud Dreamer and I are old friends. I have to help him out. Plus, I have not liked the Purple Sun Martial School and the Fire Bastard for a long time." Fire Bastard, is he the Great Master of the Purple Sun Martial School? Yi Chan had heard from Luo Hansan that the 5 top-ranked martial institutions of the Windy Nation were guarded by great elders, and only astral-reaching realm martial artists could become great elders. This was also the main reason why the Ghost Man didn't dare to attack the 5 top-ranked martial institutions. After all, even if the Ghost Man hadn't fully recovered, he was still a real astral-reaching realm martial artist. He has already reached the mid-astral reaching realm. Cloud Dreamer and I are both at the peak level of early astral reaching realm. But 20 years ago, he did not dare to be so arrogant. Your great master Cloud Dreamer's brother disciple, the Dark Cloud Dreamer, was even more powerful than him. Unfortunately, he was easily provoked and died in the siege of the 9 ghost cult's powerful warriors. This had a lot to do with the Fire Bastard. I suspect that he had been working with the remaining forces of the 9 ghost cult. 9 evil cult? He is not afraid of public anger? Yi Chan was surprised. He is not the only one. Back then, the 9 evil cult was already doomed, and the remaining forces could not do anything. Therefore, many people started to have bad ideas. They planned to use the remaining forces of the 9 evil cult to get rid of the dissidents and suppress the other martial institutions. The former leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Cloud Dreamer, seemed to be a hot-tempered man, but he was just too honest. That was why he suffered such a big loss. He lost a lot of powerful martial artists, and suddenly dropped from a top rank 8 martial institution to a rank 9 martial institution. Fortunately, that Cloud Dreamer was smart and cunning. He saved the Sky Cloud Martial School in an extremely dangerous situation, and also set up a trap to kill that Fire Bastard's brother, and a few top inner masters of the Purple Sun Martial School. Hearing him, Yi Chan nodded. No matter where it was, as long as there were people, there would be conflicts and conspiracies. From small families to big martial institutions, no one would be spared, unless human beings were no longer human beings. They were just wooden dummies with no intelligence. I killed the 3 of them. That Fire Bastard must be furious. Unfortunately, he could not do anything to me. I am all alone, and I can come and go freely, unlike him, who has to guard the Purple Sun Martial School. Thunder Freer grabbed the wine gourd and poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth, he said casually. It was the first time for Yichun to meet an astral-reaching realm warrior. He knew that this was a rare opportunity, so he asked Thunder Freer, "Is the difference between the astral-reaching realm and the clasping yuan realm really that big? I can easily kill a late clasping yuan realm warrior. It would be as easy as blowing off dust." Look, while drinking, Thunder Freer raised his left hand. Who? A bright light shone, and a dark blue Zhen Yuan appeared in the center of Thunder Freer's left hand. This Zhen Yuan had no impurities, it was even purer than a crystal, and even brighter than a gem. If it could be condensed into a solid form, it would definitely be priceless in the world where Yichun came from. "Did you find anything?" Thunder Freer asked. Yichun thought for a while, then said, "It is more than 10 times purer than Zhanqi. Could it be that it was extracted from Zhanqi? Just like my mysterious great art, if I train it to the highest level, I can extract a mouthful of Zhenyuan which can easily kill a warrior at the same level as me." Thunder Freer looked impressed. Very smart. Zhenyuan is the essence of Zhanqi. With the amount of Zhanqi you have right now, you might not be able to extract a mouthful of Zhenyuan. Even if you could, it would be very, very small and could only be used once. However, astral-reaching realm warriors have Zhenyuan all over their bodies. If I could not kill a late clasping Yuan realm warrior with one attack, then I would not be able to live in this world anymore. So that's how it is. Liquefying Zhanqi into Zhenqi is not that different. But refining Zhanqi into Zhenyuan, the difference is unbelievably huge. After all, the former two are only changes in form while the latter two are changes in level. They are not even comparable. Yichun thought about it. Thunder Freer continued, however, there are exceptions to everything. There are also examples of late clasping Yuan realm warriors beating astral-reaching realm warriors, but the difficulty has been magnified by 10 times. Take you as an example. If your sword intent could not grow, and you did not have any special encounters, you would still be killed by me with one attack when you reach the late clasping Yuan realm. Yichun remained silent. What Thunder Freer said was the truth. The higher the level of a warrior, the harder it would be for him to challenge someone with a higher cultivation. With his current achievement, he could only be counted as a rare genius in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Compared to the whole South Rudra region or the whole True Spirit continent, he would not even be worth mentioning. I am not trying to discourage you, I am just giving you an example. With your talent, your sword intent will never stop growing. If you can reach the completion level, and if you have some other special encounters, you might be able to escape from an astral-reaching realm warrior's attack. However, it would be very difficult to fight against them. In the past 100 years, very few people had managed to do it. Xianhou was one of the best. When she was still a late clasping Yuan realm warrior, she had even killed a couple of astral-reaching realm warriors. Her battling power was extremely horrifying, and she was called the top of the top. Xianhou, it was Xianhou again. Yichun had heard her name more than once. As long as it was about the records of warriors, she would always be number one, and no one would be able to surpass her. She was the top of all the martial geniuses, or in other words, the king of all the martial geniuses in the past hundreds of years. She was so famous that no one could compete with her. Yichun did not know how amazing she was back then, but he was sure that if the two of them were at the same age, Yichun would definitely be the one who would be bullied. It could be seen from the way she had broken through. Becoming a condensing reality realm warrior at the age of 11, clasping Yuan realm at the age of 14, astral reaching realm at the age of 18, Sea of Souls realm at the age of 25, and reaching the life and death realm at the age of 35. She was the youngest life and death realm warrior in the past 1,000 years. Just hearing this record made Yichun's hair stand on end. He was almost 17 years old and was still at the early clasping Yuan realm. It would be almost impossible for him to catch up to her, unless he had more special encounters than her. Thinking about this, Yichun became even more determined to go out and train. If he did not go out and train, he might not be able to become a life and death realm warrior in 500 years, not to mention catching up to Xianhou. You should know that time waits for no one. Especially when you're young, you have to seize every second of your time. You can't afford to waste even a single second. You should understand that it's the best time for young people to improve themselves. When you get older, your mentality will change and your progress will slow down, and you will no longer be able to maintain your peak condition. Since the ancient times, which one of the truly powerful warriors didn't climb up to where they were when they were still young? If you can't become a powerful warrior when you're young, then you will never be able to conquer the whole world and rule the whole true spirit continent. Yichen nodded. Senior Thunderfreer, I understand this. That's why I'm so eager to go out and train. I want to seize my own special encounters, or those that don't belong to me. Special encounters, special encounters. This is the most important thing to become a powerful warrior. Unfortunately, I didn't have any special encounters back then, so I will stop at the astral reaching realm for the rest of my life. After sighing, Thunderfreer said seriously, when you reach the mid or late clasping yuan realm, you have to get a higher level martial art. The higher the better. Yichen knew what he was talking about, but he didn't quite understand the details, so he said, if the martial arts rank is too low, then the training speed will be slow. I wonder what rank your Great Thunder Art is. Mid-rank Earth Realm. There isn't a single high-rank Earth Realm martial art in the whole Windy Nation. Even the Emerald Martial Palace's Great Mountain and Water Art is only incomplete. Not a high-rank Earth Realm martial art. As for why I want you to get a higher-level martial art, it's because when you reach the Astral Reaching Realm, the training speed of a mid-rank Earth Realm martial art is too slow. I spent a whole 10 years to reach the early Astral Reaching Realm from the peak of late clasping Yuan Realm. 10 years. How much time have I wasted in these 10 years? If I have a higher-level martial art, I might be able to make further progress. Training a mid-rank Earth Realm martial art would take 10 years to reach the Astral Reaching Realm from the peak of late clasping Yuan Realm. Yichen was a bit shocked, but he soon understood. Indeed, the 5 leaders of the Windy Nation had been stuck at the peak of late clasping Yuan Realm for a couple of years now, and still hadn't had the opportunity to make a breakthrough. The biggest reason seemed to be that their martial arts rank was too low, and the Zhen Yuan extraction speed was too slow. Chapter 172. Looking at the sky, Thunderfreer continued, I reached the peak level late clasping Yuan Realm when I was 46, and reached the Astral Reaching Realm when I was 56. After that, I only managed to reach the peak level early Astral Reaching Realm from the early Astral Reaching Realm. Without any surprises, the martial arts that are suitable for Astral Reaching Realm warriors should be high-rank Earth Realm or even top-rank Earth Realm martial arts, while the ones suitable for Seas of Souls Realm warriors should be Heaven Realm martial arts. If you can't even reach this basic requirement, you will be left behind by other warriors with the same level of talent. Yichen, you can give away everything except the martial arts. A good martial art can save you a lot of time. For example, if you have a high-rank Earth Realm martial art, it would only take you 7 to 8 years to reach the Astral Reaching Realm from the peak level late clasping Yuan Realm. If you have a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, it would only take you 5 to 6 years, and a low-rank Heaven Realm martial art would take you 2 to 3 years. It will be the foundation for you to become a powerful warrior. When you give it to someone else, you are giving the opportunity to become a powerful warrior to them. You have to remember this. I know. Thank you, Senior Thunderfreer, for reminding me. Before, although Yichen knew about the effects of martial arts, he did not know much about them. Right now, after hearing Thunderfreer's words, he finally realized that there was a huge difference between having a high-level martial art and not having a high-level martial art. Taking one step forward, one step backward, one step further, one step further, one step further. Alright, I have said everything I need to say. From now on, you will have to rely on yourself. Whether you can become a powerful warrior or not, no one can help you. Before you leave the Windy Nation, I will be watching you from above. You can take care of the small problems yourself. Thunderfreer appreciated Yichen, which was why he reminded him. If it were someone else, he would not have bothered to talk to him. Swoosh! Thunderfreer's body shone with a bright thunder light as he flew into the sky within a second. Letting out a deep breath, Yichen thought to himself, I am still far from enough. Passing through the Devil Grassland, what appeared in front of Yichen's eyes was a vast river, called the Wild Goose Falling River. This river was the natural border between the Windy Nation and the Thousand Thread Nation. It is said that even wild geese cannot fly across the Wild Goose Falling River. They will fall into the river midway. I wonder if that is true? Yichen frowned as information about the Wild Goose Falling River appeared in his mind. Once a martial artist reached the early clasping Yuan realm, he or she would be able to fly in the air, but it was not unlimited. Once he or she used up all of his Zhanqi, he or she would still have to find a foothold. Only late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists would be able to fly for a long time. Apart from that, early-clasping Yuan realm warriors could not fly very high, only around 1,000 meters. Mid-clasping Yuan realm warriors could fly up to 2,000 meters, and late-clasping Yuan realm warriors could reach up to 3,000 meters. If one became an astral-reaching realm warrior, he could even reach tens of thousands of meters in the air. With Yi Chen's cultivation, he could only fly to a height of 1,000 meters. He couldn't compare to the wild geese, so he probably couldn't fly over the wild goose falling river. Let's try it out first. There were hardly any signs of human habitation here, and since he couldn't find a ferry, he could only rely on himself. Whoosh! Extending his body, Yi Chen flew above the river and flew into the distance. After flying for about 10 miles, the airflow in the surroundings suddenly became chaotic, forming swirls of airflow, which consumed Yi Chen's Zhanqi. After punching through the swirls of airflow, Yi Chen thought to himself, no wonder the wild geese couldn't fly over. The airflow above the wild goose falling river was abnormal. Not to mention normal birds, even ordinary flying demonic beasts would be exhausted by the airflow and fall from the sky. More and more swirls of airflow appeared. In the end, there were even tornadoes, waterspouts, and other natural phenomena. Many flying beasts that passed by fell into the river, and no one knew if they were still alive or not. Break! Boosted up his Zhanqi, Yi Chen punched out and shattered the waterspout that was coming towards him. The aftershock of the punch shook the surrounding space, and then everything went back to normal. I can't go on any longer. I've used up too much Zhanqi and my Zhanqi is starting to get dirty. I have to go down. After throwing out this punch, the murky qi inside Yi Chen's body had increased dramatically, which was a sign that his Zhanqi was in chaos. If he stayed in the air any longer, his Zhanqi would flow in reverse, which would hurt his meridians. After all, he was not a late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist yet, and could not stay in the air for a long time. During the flight, he had to use his Zhanqi to shatter the obstacles from time to time. His body floated down to the ground. Yi Chen touched his storage ring with his right hand and took out a waist-thick tree trunk. He then dropped it into the river. Splash! The tree trunk floated on the water, and Yi Chen stepped on it with his feet. He scanned the area with his soul power and found no danger. Yi Chen adjusted his breathing for a while, then activated his Zhanqi and formed a power source behind the tree trunk. A strong wind blew over, and the water on both sides of the river flowed backward quickly. When encountering a tornado or waterspout, Yi Chen only needed to punch out and solve the problem completely. When encountering a demonic beast under the water, he only needed to stomp on the ground, and his pure mysterious Zhanqi would spread out, covering an area with a radius of tens of meters. Occasionally, 1 or 2 rank 5 demonic beasts would be cut in half by his sword, and their blood dyed the surface of the river red. Fortunately, I have the pellets that can instantly replenish my Zhanqi. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to cross the wild goose falling river. Clasping Yuan realm martial artists were extremely fast. If they used their flying art, they could cover 2,000 to 3,000 miles in 2 hours. However, no clasping Yuan realm martial artists use their Zhanqi every day, because the Zhanqi of a clasping Yuan realm martial artist could not last for more than a couple of hours. Once their Zhanqi ran out, it would not only hurt their bodies, but also put them in great danger. However, using the tree trunk to cross the wild goose falling river would consume a lot more Zhanqi than using flying art. Because flying art was a skill, it could already save a lot of Zhanqi. However, forming the power source of Zhanqi behind the tree trunk did not require a lot of skill. Most of the Zhanqi used was brute force. Besides, the resistance in the water was greater than that in the air, which increased the consumption of Zhanqi. Fortunately, Yi Chen had obtained a calabash of medicinal pellets from the Heavenly Dream ancient region, which contained hundreds of them. Normally, he would not be willing to use them when he was traveling, but at this moment it was understandable for him to use 1 or 2 of them. The wild goose falling river was not an ocean. No matter how wide it was, it still had a bottom line. After traveling for about 700 to 800 miles, Yi Chen finally saw the other side of the river. Looking at the riverbank and the towering mountains, which were also rarely seen by people, Yi Chen gave a bitter smile and said, It seems that this part of the road I chose is a bit remote, and there are not many people around. That's good, I want to train myself anyway so I can go anywhere. I don't need to worry too much. Bang! The tree trunk hit the river bank, and Yi-chan jumped up into the air. Opening the map, Yi-chan pointed out the location of the mountains and said to himself, there are 3 mountains on the other side of the Wild Goose Falling River, 2 small ones and 1 big one. If I am not mistaken, this mountain should be the biggest one, called the 5 Poison Mountain. It is about the same size as the Silent Hills. It is also thousands of miles wide. Most of the demonic beasts in this mountain are highly poisonous, and the 5 poison beasts are the most famous. The 5 poison beasts were snakes, scorpions, spiders, centipedes, and toads. These 5 poisons were the demonic beasts, and they were even more poisonous. Normal condensing reality realm warriors would definitely die if they touched them. Therefore, Yi-chan had to bring some high-level antidotes with him in case he was poisoned. Putting away the map, Yi-chan raised his head and looked at the sky. Thunderfreer should have left already. From now on, he would have to rely on himself. No matter how dangerous it would be, he would have to survive. Only by surviving could he become a powerful warrior. In the future, he would be surrounded by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. If he did not want to become one of them, then he would have to walk through it and reach the top step by step. His body flashed. Yi-chan headed towards the 5 Poison Mountain. Swoosh! The sword light flashed, and a flying vampire bat was cut in half by Yi-chan's sword. Its corpse was as big as a wild dog with sharp fangs. The 5 Poison Mountain is indeed the 5 Poison Mountain. On the way here, more than 70% of the demonic beasts were poisonous. Putting the dragon spring sword back into its sheath, Yi-chan put a miasma-dispelling pellet in his mouth. There were many places in the 5 Poison Mountain that were filled with miasma. It would be fine if the miasma was only for a short period of time, but after a long period of time, it would cause all kinds of symptoms, which would affect one's fighting power. Raising his feet, Yi-chan started walking towards the depths of the mountain. Inside a small valley, there was a muddy pond in the valley, and next to the pond was an empty, flat land. At this moment, a group of people had gathered on the flat land. In front of them was a house-sized, gigantic toad. The toad's body was colorful, and every single one of its tumors was as big as a wash basin. It was releasing a highly poisonous demonic chi, which was spreading everywhere. Miss Yugo will stop it. The middle-aged man, who seemed to be the leader of the group, nervously looked at the toad and said to the girl behind him. The girl's face was pale, but she shook her head firmly. How can I abandon you and leave? After all, I was the one who came to the 5 Poison Mountain. Hearing this, the good-looking young man next to her said anxiously, Miss, the 5-colored toad is a level 5 demonic beast. Its poisonous chi will kill anyone who touches it. You won't be able to help even if you stay here. Plus, the leader is still waiting for the Zen fragrance grass to save him. Zhengxian, you don't stay either. Take the young lady and go back together. The middle-aged man's face flashed with determination, and he ordered the young man to take the young lady away. Dad! The young man's face was full of pain. One was his father, and the other was the young lady he loved. He did not want to give up on either one. Shoo! Right then the 5-colored toad attacked. Its 10-meter-long tongue curled up, and a guard was sucked into its mouth and swallowed. Son of a bitch! The middle-aged man held his blade with both of his hands and slashed. Chin! The blade chi barely broke through the 5-colored toad's defense. Streams of blood fell onto the ground, making a sizzling sound. All of a sudden, an unpleasant smell spread out. 2 guards who were standing close to the toad fell onto the ground with white foam coming out of their mouths, dead. The blood is poisonous as well? A human figure appeared above the entrance of the valley. He saw this scene and thought to himself. It was indeed Yi-chan. After a couple of hours of traveling, he had already passed through the edge of the 5 Poison Mountain. Luckily, he did not run into any powerful demonic beasts. The real powerful demonic beasts should be deep in the center of the mountain, and were not likely to come out. Shoo! The 5-colored toad's tongue was long and thin. It was so fast that it could not be seen by the naked eye. This time it had already pierced through the chests of 2 guards, and was heading towards the girl in the middle of the crowd. Piss off! The young man barely managed to raise his long sword horizontally in front of the girl, trying to cut off the toad's tongue. Unfortunately, no matter how fast he was, he could not compete with the toad's tongue. The long and thin tongue curled up and wrapped around his arm, dragging him towards the girl. The middle-aged man was a clasping Yuan realm warrior after all. Seeing that his son was entangled, he wanted to help. But just as he raised his long blade, a cloud of poisonous qi suddenly sprayed onto his body. Boom! The protective Zhan qi started to twist intensely, and the middle-aged man's body was blown away. Without the middle-aged man's help, the two guards who had been pierced through by the toad's tongue were dragged into the air along with the young man, falling towards the five-colored toad's huge mouth. Shoo! The sword qi flashed across, and the five-colored toad's tongue was cut off. Chapter 173. The young man hurriedly stepped back. As for the two guards who had their chests pierced through, they were already dead, connected by the toad's broken tongue. Zhengxian, are you all right? Not far away, the middle-aged man coughed out a mouthful of blood and rushed over. The young man shook his head, then looked up at the valley and said, "He saved me." The pretty girl's eyes shone brightly. The young man was only 16 or 17 years old, and he still looked a bit immature. However, the power of that sword move was indeed terrifying. He had easily cut off the toad's tongue, giving people a feeling that he had done it so easily. "Thank you, young hero, for saving my life." The middle-aged man was also shocked by Yi Qin's power, but he was still calm. He clearly knew that the outside world was a vast world, and that some of the most talented geniuses could be as powerful or even more powerful than the older generation. For example, Wei Dongxi, the head disciple of the Green Bamboo Martial School, a rank 7 institution in the Thousand Thread Nation, could be counted as a great genius. Yi Qin's robe fluttered in the air. Within a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the crowd and said blandly, "It's nothing. Don't mention it." The pretty girl still said gratefully, "If it weren't for you, we would all have died here. Be careful." Before she finished her words, the pretty girl's expression changed. In her line of sight, the toad's eyes had turned blood red, and it spurted out a cloud of five-colored beast qi towards Yi Qin. The beast qi swept across the entire area, withered all the plants in its path, and left a deep ditch on the ground. Yi Qin's senses were extremely sharp, and he was able to sense every single move of the toad. He tilted his body and swung the dragon spring sword, releasing a light blue stream of sword qi. Puff! The sword qi cut open the five-colored beast qi, and fiercely hacked on the toad's head. Guggu, the toad let out muffled screeches, and its house-sized body was sent flying backwards, creating a few large cracks on the valley wall, causing rocks to tumble down. Mountain condensing sword qi. This toad was much weaker than the black crown serpent, but it had a great defensive power. A normal sword attack wouldn't be able to kill it. Yi Qin didn't want to waste any more time, so he launched a small attack. Puff, puff, puff. The thick sword qi contained a great deal of power. It easily cut through the rainbow toad's ugly skin and pierced through, leaving a deep mark on the wall behind it. After suffering such a heavy blow, the five-colored toad's body twitched violently. Then its body went limp and it stopped breathing. Clang! Putting the sword back into its scabbard, Yi Qin reached out his hand and waved. The inner pellet of the five-colored toad broke out of its chest and was sucked over. Amazing! The toad is dead. The five-colored toad is equal to a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Martial artists at the same level as them would have to stay away from it. This person is even younger than my nephew. I didn't expect him to be able to kill the five-colored toad with a single strike. The surviving guards were all mid or late condensing reality realm warriors. They had always heard about how powerful some of the geniuses were, but they had never seen them in person. Today they were all shocked. Yi was and said, "Zhan." And Yi Qin shook his head. "I'm leaving soon, no need to tell me my name." He had saved the toad without much effort, so he didn't need to waste too much of his time. Since he could easily save the toad, why not? Putting away the toad's core, Yi Qin turned around and said, "Everyone be careful, I won't bother you anymore." Then he was about to leave. Cough! Cough! All of a sudden, the middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood, which smelled horrible. His face turned colorful. Yi Qin frowned. "You've been poisoned." The middle-aged man activated his Zhan qi and tried to suppress the poison. He forced a smile and said, "The toad's poisonous beast qi is way too powerful. It poisoned me through my protective Zhen qi. Don't move, let me try to detoxify you." Yichun flashed behind the middle-aged man, put his hands on the man's back, and poured his pure mysterious Zhen qi into the man's body through the meridians in his arms. After a while, Yichun took back his hands, let out a breath of turbid air and said, "The toad's poison is way too powerful. Zhen qi alone won't be able to detoxify it. We have to make some detoxifying pellets. Luckily, he is not poisoned too much, so he won't be in danger for now." The pretty woman thought of something. Normally, when someone is poisoned by a highly poisonous beast, the detoxifying pellet must be made from the beast. This toad. The pretty woman looked at Yichun. The toad was killed by him, so he had the right to deal with it. She couldn't make a decision on her own. "You guys do whatever you want." He didn't plan on taking the materials from the toad. After dissecting the materials from the toad, the group was ready to leave. Yichun saw that they were either injured or poisoned, and they didn't have much fighting power. They probably wouldn't be able to walk out of this dangerous 5-poison mountain. He said helplessly, "Let me send you out." The pretty woman was grateful. She had a good impression of Yichun. On the way, Yichun learned about their names and situations. The pretty woman's name was Lin Qingmei. She was the daughter of the Lin family in Black Rock City, which was near the 5-poison mountain. The poisoned middle-aged man was called Lu Zhengde. He was Lu Zhengshuan's father, and was also an elder of the Lin family. They entered the 5-poison mountain to collect a rare spiritual plant, Zen fragrance grass. However, the Zen fragrance grass was guarded by the toad, so they were almost wiped out. After leaving the 5-poison mountain, they walked for hundreds of miles towards the east. A city built with black rocks appeared in front of Yichun. It's about the same size as the Qingfeng city. It shouldn't be very powerful. Normally, the martial schools had their own mountains and were very powerful. The big families lived in bigger and more prosperous cities. For example, the Luo city where the Yi family lived was only second to the Forgotten City and the Gale city. The Black Rock city couldn't be compared to it. After entering the city, Yichun saw that the guards had strange expressions on their faces, but he didn't pay much attention to it. The Lin family was located in the southern area of the Black Rock city. Judging from the size and layout of the city, they could barely be counted as a medium-sized family. There was a huge gap between them and the big families. "Miss, you're back. The leader of the family asked us to go see him as soon as we saw you." Master Lu was poisoned? The housekeeper, who was standing in front of the gate, saw Lin Qingmei and the others. His eyes brightened and he hurried over to greet them. However, when he saw Lu Zhengde's condition, he couldn't help but yell out. Lin Qingmei forced a smile and said, "All right, I'll be right there." Inside a room in the small courtyard, Yichun sat on the bed with his legs crossed, holding a low-rank soul stone in each of his hands. He had his eyes closed and was training. The mysterious great art had 11 levels in total, and each level was more difficult than the previous one. Before reaching the 11th level, he had to try his best to step into the higher levels as soon as possible and increase his fighting power. Otherwise, if he encountered a late-class Bingyuan realm warrior, he would not have enough power. After an unknown period of time, crack! The low-rank soul stone in his hand shattered. Yichun opened his eyes. "I'm now at the peak of the 6th level. I guess I'll be able to reach the 7th level in a couple of days." Throwing away the broken low-rank soul stone, Yichun walked out of the bed. Boom! Right at this moment, the entire Lin family slightly shook, as if a small earthquake had happened. Someone is fighting? Without much hesitation, Yichun opened the door and rushed towards the source of the tremor. On the welcoming plaza of the Lin family, two groups of people were facing each other. The group of people in the welcoming hall were the powerful warriors of the Lin family, while on the other side were a group of people in yellow robes, led by a chubby middle-aged man and an elderly man in black robes. On the Lin family's side, a man was lying on the ground while puking blood. He had obviously been wounded by someone, and the wound was quite serious. Lin Taimu, it seems like you haven't learned your lesson yet. If you don't hand over the forging method of our Huang family's cold iron sword, I'll injure one of your Lin family's powerful warriors every day. Let's see how long you can last. the chubby middle-aged man said in a creepy tone while caressing the emerald ring on his finger. The master of the Lin family's face was pale and bloodless, as if he had been seriously wounded. He ordered someone to help the injured Lin family's powerful warrior up, then said in a cold voice, "The forging method of the cold iron sword was passed down by the Lin family's ancestors. It has nothing to do with your Huang family. How can you claim that it was lost by your Huang family?" The chubby middle-aged man said, "My Huang family established itself in the Black Rock City much earlier than your Lin family. You're just an outsider. How can you have the forging method of the cold iron sword? Elder Lu, please teach him a lesson, so that he won't forget the pain of the past." The old man in black robes smiled evilly. "Master of the Lin family, you were hit by my black killing palm half a month ago. How are you feeling now? Your meridians must be in great pain every day." "Don't you dare." Lin Qingmei couldn't help but walk out from the crowd. "Oh right, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm interested in your daughter. Master of the Lin family, what do you think?" A lustful look flashed across the old man's eyes. He reached out his hand, and a tremendous amount of Zhan Qi emerged from his palm, preparing to suck Lin Qingmei over. "Qi!" A sword Qi shot out, cutting off the old man's Zhan Qi. "Who are you?" The old man in black robes had a gloomy look on his face. Yi Chun walked to the plaza and said, "You're disturbing me." The chubby middle-aged man thought that it was a powerful martial artist. But when he saw a teenager who looked no older than 16 or 17 walk out, he laughed and said, "Lin Taimu, don't tell me that this is a powerful martial artist invited by your Lin family. Do you really think that he can stop Elder Lu?" The old man in black robes said coldly, "Little brat, if you dare to stop me, you will die today." When Lin Qingmei saw Yi Chun, a joyful look flashed across her face. But soon after, a worried look appeared on her face. She said in a low voice, "Why did you come out?" Yi Chun asked, "Who are they?" Lin Qingmei said, "That hateful fatty is the master of the Huang family in the Black Rock City. He has been coveting the forging method of the cold iron sword of our Lin family. He didn't dare to touch our Lin family in the past, but recently he invited this powerful martial artist called Elder Lu, who injured my father. I came to the Five Poisons mountain range to collect some Zen herbs to treat my father's injury." "Oh." Yi Chun nodded and didn't say another word. Lin Taimu, the master of the Lin family, asked Qingmei, "Is this little brother the one who brought you out of the Five Poisons mountain range?" "Yes, father." "Since he saved our lives, why don't you take him to rest?" Lin Taimu could tell that Yi Chun was an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, so he didn't want to get him involved in this. Lin Qingmei had a complicated look on her face. Yi Chun's power was obvious. He was as powerful as a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. However, that Elder Lu was even more powerful. He had already reached the peak of the mid-clasping Yuan realm. Even her father had been injured by him. Deep down in her heart, she really hoped that Yi Chun could help them. However, this hope was too slim. After all, she had experienced how powerful Elder Lu was. Yi Chun couldn't possibly be a match for him. "You want to leave? Not so easy. Die." The old man in black robes had a hideous look on his face as he threw a palm attack towards Yi Chun. A huge black palm swooshed across the air, letting out a shrill, heart-wrenching sound. Clang! Yi Chun unsheathed the dragon spring sword and waved it casually. Chapter 174. The bright, crystal-like sword Qi sliced through the air, sliced open the black palm print, and sliced towards the old man's neck. Not good. This sword Qi is very powerful. The old man's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly took out a shield from his storage ring and placed it in front of him. Clang! A huge crack appeared on the half-foot thick shield, and the bright sparks shot out 3 to 4 meters away like fireworks. The members of the Lin family were dumbfounded. A casual sword Qi had forced the powerful Elder Lu to use his shield to block it. Furthermore, the shield was made of steel that had been tempered 100 times and was half a foot thick. Yet, the sword Qi had cut 4 inches deep into the shield, nearly splitting it into 2. Seeing Yi Chun waving his sword again, the old man hurriedly dropped the broken shield in his hand and jumped towards Lin Qingmei, who was the closest to him. He wanted to use her as a shield so that Yi Chun wouldn't be able to hurt her. Lin Qingmei was not powerful enough. She only saw a blur in front of her eyes, and the old man had already arrived in front of her. His withered hand reached towards her neck. Although the old man was fast, Yichun was even faster. He appeared right next to Lin Qingmei, leaving only a shadow behind him. The light blue sword light shone like a thunderbolt. The next moment, the old man was blown away, and his body was cut in half in the air. Elder Lu is dead. The leader of the Huang family, who had been smiling a moment ago, was now terrified. Swish! Yichun waved his left hand, and the storage ring on the old man's finger fell off and was sucked over. Without even looking at it, Yichun put it into his own storage ring. Then, he turned his head and looked at the leader of the Huang family. The leader of the Huang family's face had turned pale. He forced a smile and said, "My family will leave right now. I promise we will never cause any trouble to the Lin family again." As for Elder Lu, he deserved it. During the half a month that he stayed in the Huang family, he had raped countless servant girls. Yichun didn't say anything. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. If he slaughtered the Huang family's people, others would think that he was a bloodthirsty person. Of course, if Lin Taimu wanted to eradicate the Huang family, Yichun wouldn't mind helping him by killing a few experts of the Huang family. Obviously, Lin Taimu didn't want to do that. He yelled, "Huang Jian, my Lin family and your Huang family have never interfered in each other's business, and we have no intention of competing with you for the Black Rock City's business. Now get lost. If you dare to bully us again in the future, I, Lin Taimu, will never forgive you." Yes. Huang Jian's only thought now was to leave the Lin family. As for the future, he would think about it later. He was really afraid that Yichun would kill him in passing. After the people of the Huang family left, Yichun slightly shook his head. Lin Taimu was still not ruthless enough. Those who wanted to achieve great things had to be ruthless. They would kill those who deserved to be killed, and never let go of any opportunity. However, everyone had their own ambitions. Not everyone wanted to achieve great things. Perhaps Lin Taimu only wanted to live a peaceful life in the Black Rock City. Furthermore, although Lin Taimu was injured, he was still much stronger than Huang Jian. Once he fully recovered, the Huang family wouldn't dare to bully them again in a short period of time. "Little brother, thank you so much. I, Lin Taimu, will never be able to thank you enough." Lin Taimu cupped his hands towards Yichun. Not only had Lin Taimu saved his daughter's life, he had also helped the Lin family kill their biggest enemy, the black-clothed old man. Yichun said, "Don't mention it." It was almost evening. Lin Taimu had ordered people to prepare a sumptuous banquet for Yichun. During the banquet, Lin Qingmei had drunk a lot of wine. Her cheeks were flushed, and her gaze fell on Yichun from time to time. As for that young man named Lu Zhengxian, he looked sad. "Zhengxian, don't worry. He doesn't belong to the same world as us. He will leave sooner or later." Lu Zhengde sat beside Lu Zhengxian and comforted him. Lu Zhengxian nodded bitterly. He was now a late-condensing reality realm martial artist. As long as he worked hard, he could easily become a clasping yuan realm martial artist. However, compared to Yichun, he was still far behind. Fortunately, he knew that the outside world was huge, and there were countless geniuses out there. Not everyone could compete with them. All he wanted to do was to become a powerful martial artist in the Black Rock City. The next day, early in the morning, Yichun bid farewell to the Lin family members, then left the Black Rock City. In a small forest, a bonfire was flickering. "I have reached the 7th level of the mysterious great art. The quality of my zhenqi has increased by 30%, and the total amount of my zhenqi has also increased by 10%. Sitting beside the bonfire with his legs crossed, Yichun threw a punch towards a gigantic tree in the distance. Crack! The tree was snapped in half, and the top half was sent flying dozens of meters away. It had been 3 days since Yichun left the Black Rock City. During this time, Yichun would spend 4 to 6 hours training the mysterious great art every day. Tonight he had finally made a breakthrough. "Oh right, I haven't checked the old man's storage ring yet." Since he had some free time, Yichun took out the old man's storage ring. After removing the remaining zhenqi from the old man's body, Yichun saw the space inside the ring. Although the old man was a peak-level mid-clasping yuan realm martial artist, he did not have a lot of money. He only had around 1,000 low-rank soul stones and 500,000 gold. However, there were a lot of strange things in the ring. There were stones that emitted black chi, skulls made of beautiful jade, and a broken map. Skipping over the first few items, Yi-chan took out the broken map. Yi-chan opened the map and found that it was only the size of a palm. It was grayish-yellow in color, and there were routes, rivers, mountains, and woods drawn on it with special pigments. On the edge of the map there was a red dot which was very eye-catching. I can't tell where the mountains and the woods are, but this river is obviously the Wild Goose Falling River. The Wild Goose Falling River is one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. The river I just passed through was only a small part of it. The end of this river is in the north of the Gray Mystery Nation, and that's where the red dot is. I wonder what this red dot represents? Yi-chan was lost in his thoughts. He thought that it was just an ordinary map fragment, but now he realized that it might not be the case. After all, the animal skin that the map was made of looked quite ancient. I'm here to train myself, so it doesn't matter where I go. I might be able to find something. However, this Gray Mystery Nation is not one of the 9 nations, and it's over 500,000 miles away from the Thousand Silk Nation. It will take me a long time to get to the red dot. Waking up from his thoughts, Yi-chan made up his mind to go to the red dot. 3 days later, Yi-chan arrived at the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River again. If the Wild Goose Falling River between the Windy Nation and the Thousand Silk Nation was the downstream part, then the Wild Goose Falling River here belonged to the upper part. On the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River was a prosperous port city called the Riverside City, which had a population of over 5 million. Huge ships were docked at the port, transporting goods to the shore. Young warrior, the ocean beast is about to leave, please wait for it. Someone came to report to Yi-chan from the shore. Yi-chan nodded and responded, all right. The ocean beast was a huge shuttle-shaped ship, over 100 meters long and 20 meters wide. It was entirely made from the top-grade iron heavy wood, and even ordinary clasping Yuan realm martial artists might not be able to leave a dent on it. The ocean beast was extremely sturdy and reliable, and was one of the biggest guarantees for passing through the Wild Goose Falling River. But of course, with the current technology of the Riverside City, such a huge ship couldn't be built yet. This ship was custom-made from the Black Dragon Empire, one of the 3 largest empires in the South Shore region. No one knew how much gold it cost. At least, with the current wealth of Yi-chan, he couldn't even afford 1% of this ship. There weren't too many people on the ship, only around 30 to 40 people. Half of them were rich people, 2/3 were nobles, and the rest were martial artists. The Zhen Qi vibration released from these 7 to 8 martial artists was extremely strong, and they were all clasping Yuan realm martial artists. One of them was even a late clasping Yuan realm martial artist. When he blinked his eyes, a sharp light could be seen, which was as sharp as a knife. Seeing that Yi-chan was so young, these people all had different looks on their faces. A big-bellied rich man laughed out loud and said, "Young man, did you steal money from your family and prepare to leave your family? But your family is quite rich. We have to pay 100,000 taels of gold to board this ship. Ordinary people can't afford it." Those martial artists silently cursed him for being an idiot. Although Yi-chan's Zhen Qi vibration was slightly weaker than theirs, he was clearly a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. How could a clasping Yuan realm martial artist be so poor? It was absolutely impossible for him to steal money from his family to leave his family. Yi-chan gave a faint smile but didn't say anything. All right, people, the ocean beast is about to depart. I hope you can behave yourselves on the way, and don't cause us any trouble. The cabin door was opened, and a middle-aged man walked in with 2 of his subordinates and said coldly, "What are you talking about? Who dares to cause trouble on the ocean beast? They must be tired of living." Indeed, the ocean beast belongs to the South Chamber of Commerce. The South Chamber of Commerce is one of the 2 largest chambers of commerce in the South Shore region. They have countless powerful martial artists, and are even more powerful than rank 7 institutions. Hearing these people's discussions, Yi-chan slightly knitted his eyebrows. The sense of power released from this middle-aged man was no weaker than that of the patriarch of the South Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, he was a peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, and the 2 subordinates behind him were also mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Added with the other powerful martial artists of the South Chamber of Commerce, The South Chamber of Commerce was more than powerful. Clatter! A noise came from below the deck. The ship was about to depart. In the Huang family in the Black Rock City. You said that old Lu was killed, but where's the killer? Two young men were looking down at the Huang family's leader. The one on the left was wearing a black robe and had a gloomy face, while the other one was wearing a cyan robe and had a cold look. The Zhen Qi vibrations released from their bodies were even more powerful than Yi Chen's. They were at least peak-level early clasping Yuan realm martial artists. The Huang family's leader wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, I don't know, he left the next day. Why don't you go ask the Lin family's people? They are quite close to that kid. Bang! The young man in cyan robe gave the Huang family's leader a heavy kick, making him vomit blood, then sneered and said, You want to use me as a weapon? You don't deserve it. After leaving the Huang family, the young man in black robe said, That kid is only 16 or 17 years old, but he has the power to defeat old Lu, who is at the peak level mid-clasping Yuan realm. It seems that we can't underestimate him. The young man in cyan robe sneered and said, Both of us are ranked in the top 45 in the Hidden Dragon ranking. That old Lu is nothing but a piece of cake for us. What should we do now? Don't worry, I've seen that map in a stall, but I didn't pay much attention to it. When I got back, old Lu had already bought it. Fortunately, I've memorized the location of the red dot. It's roughly at the end of the Wild Goose Falling River. As for the specific location, we'll know when we get there. That's great. If nothing goes wrong, the location of the red dot must be a historical site. If we can find one or two high-level martial arts, we'll have more hope for the Hidden Dragon ranking competition the year after next. Chapter 175. The speed of the ocean beast was unbelievably fast. Within only 1 day and 1 night, it had already left River City and appeared over 10,000 miles away. This kind of speed was almost twice as fast as that of the half-spirit horse, the ghost-eyed jade lion, as fast as a bolt of lightning. Only a large river like the Wild Goose Falling River could allow the ocean beast to move so fast. If it were a small river, the ocean beast would have been destroyed long ago. Perhaps the ocean beast was afraid that the strong wind might blow the passengers away if the ocean beast moved too fast. Therefore, the ocean beast was in the shape of a shuttle. 2 arc-shaped planks extended from the front of the ship, covering a small half of the ship's head. The strong wind that came from the front of the ship was pushed away along the planks, and couldn't reach the deck. Creak! Pushing the cabin door open, Yi-chan saw the sharp bow of the ship cut a tornado in half, then swiftly swooshed through it. Yi-chan was secretly shocked by the power of the tornado. The ocean beast is indeed an invention of the puppet school. Such a small ship has so many incredible things. Beside Yi-chan, the middle-aged man with a curly beard leaned against the cabin wall and praised. Is this ship also an invention of the puppet school? Asked Yi-chan confusedly. Speaking of which, he had seen many inventions of the puppet school, such as wooden puppets and crow puppets. Even he, who was a soul traveler, couldn't help but sigh with admiration. The royal family of the Black Dragon Empire once discovered the remains of a branch of the puppet school, and mastered many inventions. The ocean beast is one of them. It's said that the South Chamber of Commerce bought 5 ocean beasts from the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire, each of which is worth over 500 million gold. Apart from that, the South Chamber of Commerce has to pay a huge amount of spirit stones to the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire every year, which is equivalent to renting the ships. The middle-aged man with a curly beard looked ordinary, and was wearing a gray robe. He was about 40 or 50 years old. Yi-chan was shocked. They paid 500 million gold, and they still have to pay spirit stones every year? That's too harsh. The bearded middle-aged man grinned and said, After 10 years, we won't need to pay spirit stones anymore. Besides, just think about it, every time this ocean beast carries a batch of customers it can earn millions of gold. 10 batches of customers a year means tens of millions of gold, and this is only a small number. Not to mention, this ocean beast is not only used to carry people, but also to help the Chamber of Commerce transport goods. Otherwise, which ship can make a round trip of hundreds of thousands of miles? Yi-chan thought for a while and agreed with Yi-chan. The South Chamber of Commerce was a large chamber of commerce, and the most important thing for the South Chamber of Commerce was to do business. Now that they had ocean beasts, it would be much more convenient for them to transport goods, which would save them a lot of time and manpower. The two of them had only met for a day, and after chatting for a while, they fell silent. Standing next to the railing on the edge of the deck, Yi-chan could see that there was a thin layer of air 3 feet away from him. That was because the ship was traveling at such a high speed that the wind was compressed into a solid airflow. If a mortal realm warrior took a step forward, he or she would definitely be blown away by the thin layer of air. Even a condensing reality realm warrior would have to use all of his or her power to resist this airflow. Through the thin layer of air, Yi-chan could see the boundless river water. As one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region, the Wild Goose Falling River was 650,000 miles long. Its main river ran through the Windy Nation, the Thousand Thread Nation, the Gray Mystery Nation and the other 8 nations, and its tributaries were tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of tributaries. The Wild Goose Falling River was huge, but it was still the smallest of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. The largest river was the Vermilion Bird River. The Vermilion Bird River not only ran through a big half of the South Shore region, but also extended to other regions, such as the Wavy Cloud region and the Misty Snow region. Even the Wild Goose Falling River could be counted as a tributary of the Vermilion Bird River. Therefore, it was not hard to imagine how vast the Vermilion Bird River was. It was countless times larger than the ocean in the world where Yi-chan came from. One day, when I am able to travel through thousands of mountains and rivers and climb to the top of the martial artists, I wonder what it would be like. Facing the vast Wild Goose Falling River, Yi-chan's heart was filled with ambition. He clenched his fists tightly. "Everyone, it's time for dinner. Come on in." The cabin door was opened, and a member of the South Chamber of Commerce informed everyone on the deck. "All right, I'm almost hungry. The food on the Ocean Beast is quite good. I wonder what's going to be this time." Hearing everyone's words, Yi-chan grinned and followed them into the cabin. After dinner, the sky gradually darkened. Yi-chan went back to his own room. The Ocean Beast had 4 floors. The bottom floor was for storing goods, the second floor was for the members of the South Chamber of Commerce, and the third and fourth floors were for powerful martial artists and passengers of the South Chamber of Commerce. Yi-chan's room was the 5th one on the 4th floor, which was quite spacious, about 20 to 30 square meters. Sitting on his bed with his legs crossed, Yi-chan began his daily cultivation. Soon 10 days had passed. The Ocean Beast had crossed a few countries, and finally arrived in the territory of the Zhaoyang country. From here on, all kinds of powerful martial artists will show up frequently. You'd better be careful, don't provoke them. The captain of the Ocean Beast, who was a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, walked onto the deck and reminded everyone. A noble young man who was protected by 4 clasping Yuan realm martial artists, grinned and said, "Captain Su, you're a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, and one of the powerful martial artists of the South Chamber of Commerce. You must be very knowledgeable. Can you tell us about the abilities of powerful martial artists? We have nothing to do anyway." The middle-aged man glanced at the young man. This young man was the 3rd prince of the Thousand Thread country, named Zhao Kong. He liked to make friends with powerful martial artists from all over the world, and had many powerful martial artists on his side. But of course, in the eyes of the South Chamber of Commerce, those powerful martial artists were nothing special, and were only slightly famous in the Thousand Thread country. Since Prince Zhao is in such a good mood, I'd like to introduce myself. He often visited the Thousand Thread country, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to build a good relationship with Zhao Kong. After all, some things couldn't be easily solved by powerful forces. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many complicated forces in the world. Hearing Zhao Kong, the others moved a bit closer to him, their faces filled with interest. There is nothing much to say about clasping Yuan realm martial artists. They can't be counted as powerful martial artists. Only those above the clasping Yuan realm can be considered as powerful. As we all know, when a clasping Yuan realm martial artist Zhen Qi has been refined into Zhen Yuan, he or she would be considered to have just stepped into the astral reaching realm, and would have the power to fly into the sky. But very few people know about the other abilities of astral reaching realm martial artists. Now I will tell you about them. Clearing his throat, the middle-aged man continued. The first ability of astral reaching realm warriors is the Zhen Yuan transformation ability. Different from Zhen Qi transformation, Zhen Yuan transformation is more powerful and sturdier. For example, if an astral-reaching realm warrior who uses a sword loses his sword, he can create a Zhen Yuan sword which is only weaker than a low-rank great weapon, but way more powerful than normal weapons. Of course, it can also transform into other things, such as blades, spears, sticks, or anything else that can be imitated. I will not waste time on this. The second ability of an astral-reaching realm warrior is to create a Zhen Yuan fire by rubbing their Zhen Yuan together. With the Zhen Yuan fire, they can easily melt some hard metals and make them into weapons. Don't underestimate this ability. Although not many people know how to make great weapons, but after some rare metals are made into weapons, their hardness will be quite impressive, and they will be extremely hard to destroy. If you don't use it yourself, you can give it to your family, friends, or juniors. Besides this, the most important use of the Zhen Yuan fire is to burn Zhen Yuan and explode with the most powerful attack. However, the side effects are also quite severe. If it is light, your body will be wounded and it will take a long time to recover. If it is too intense, you might burn yourself into ashes. So scary. Someone sucked in a cold breath. Yi Chen was a bit far away from the middle-aged man, but he had heard everything clearly. He thought to himself, burning Zhen Yuan? It seems to be similar to the burning fire sacrifice spell from the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, the burning fire sacrifice spell burns internal qi or Zhen qi, while the Zhen Yuan fire burns Zhen Yuan. The difference between the two is too huge, and the power is also incomparable. In this case, the battles between astral-reaching realm martial artists should be more unpredictable. The slightly more powerful ones might not be able to win against the slightly weaker ones. Once the opponent decided to risk his life and burn his Zhen Yuan crazily, the result might be mutual destruction. No wonder astral-reaching realm martial artists can be called powerful ones. Not only is their power horrifying, but more importantly, they have too many ways to increase their power. Without an overwhelming advantage, they would not easily fight against each other. For example, Thunderfreer was not afraid of the great master of the Purple Sun Martial School, who was more powerful than him. Hearing this, Yi Chen's interest was aroused as well. The middle-aged man continued, depending on the nature of the Zhen Yuan, the burning of Zhen Yuan can be different. For example, powerful martial artists who cultivate fire Zhen Yuan can burn their Zhen Yuan more easily, while powerful martial artists who cultivate water Zhen Yuan can burn their Zhen Yuan more easily. However, the side effect of burning Zhen Yuan is much smaller, and the recovery speed is also faster. Each has its own advantages, and there is no absolute advantage or disadvantage. The middle-aged man suddenly stopped talking and looked towards the back of the ocean beast. Seeing the strange look on the middle-aged man's face, the others also looked away. It's an astral-reaching realm martial artist. He has wings on his back. Yi Chen was the first one to notice the strange look on the middle-aged man's face. The ocean beast was moving at a high speed. It could move 70 to 80 meters within a blink of an eye. However, 10 miles away from the back of the ship, a silhouette was flying over at an even higher speed. Wherever the silhouette reached, tornadoes would be dispelled, and chaotic airflows would be pushed away. Because of the low altitude of the ocean beast, the waves on the Wild Goose Falling River were surging violently. A hundreds of meters long gully was created on the river, and the water was pushed to both sides. However, this wasn't enough to surprise the others. What surprised them was that the silhouette had a huge pair of black wings on his back. The wingspan of the wings was 20 to 30 meters long, and the pair of wings seemed to cover the entire sky. Swoosh! When the silhouette was less than a mile away from the ocean beast, the pair of black wings flapped and instantly appeared on the prow of the ship. The tremendous wind force generated by the silhouette made the ocean beast sway ceaselessly, as if it was going to fall over. Senior Crowman, I am Su Chongjian, one of the deacons of the South Chamber of Commerce. The middle-aged man bowed, cupped his hands and said politely. When the silhouette landed on the prow of the ship, the others finally saw the silhouette's face clearly. It was a scrawny middle-aged man wearing a black robe. Behind his back, a pair of seemingly real and fake black wings folded up, then merged with his body. From the outside, not even a trace of the pair of wings could be seen. The scrawny middle-aged man laughed and said, I've been flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, I'm a bit tired. Can you take a rest on the ocean beast of the South Chamber of Commerce? Senior, you must be joking, it's my honor. Haha, that's great. Chapter 176. Now that there was an astral-reaching realm warrior on the ship, no one dared to say a word, as they were afraid that they might annoy him. Some of the more timid ones even hid in the cabin. Seeing this, the Black Crow Taoist smiled and said, "You guys talk, I won't eat you. The Black Crow Man is one of my most respected seniors. No need to be afraid." Su Chongjian heard him and laughed as well. Hearing Su Chongjian's words, everyone relaxed a little bit, but they still did not dare to talk too loudly. They just talked in a low voice. "This is the first time I have seen an astral-reaching realm warrior. I wonder where this Black Crow Man is from. Even Captain Su Chongjian is so respectful to him. He must be extremely powerful. The chi coming from the Black Crow Man is way too powerful. As unpredictable as this wild goose falling river. Compared to him, the powerful warriors in my family are just ordinary people. Exactly, the higher the level of a warrior, the bigger the gap between each level. I heard that an astral-reaching realm warrior could kill a late clasping Yuan realm warrior with a flick of his finger." Yichun took a quick glance at the Black Crow Taoist, then turned his eyes back. He thought to himself, he is indeed very powerful. His Zhen Yuan vibration is as vast as a river, immeasurably deep. What's different from clasping Yuan realm martial artists is that the Zhen Yuan vibration of astral-reaching realm martial artists spreads out in the form of a whirlpool, which gives people a feeling that they can crush a diamond. However, comparing the two, the Black Crow Taoist is at least 30% more powerful than the Thunder Freer. Living in the Windy Nation, how could I meet so many powerful warriors? First it was Thunder Freer, now it's the Black Crow Man. All of them are powerful warriors that most of the warriors can only look up to. Standing on the bow of the ship, the Black Crow Man did not move at all. He suddenly turned around and said to Su Chongjian, "Do you have any wine? Give me a pot." "Sir, please wait here." Su Chongjian entered the cabin and looked for the wine for the Black Crow Man. Soon, Su Chongjian walked out. He smiled and threw the wine bottle to the Black Crow Man. "Sir, this is the famous pear blossom wine of our South Chamber of Commerce." Uncorking the bottle, the Black Crow Man poured the wine into his mouth without caring about anything else, then murmured, "Great wine, fragrant and mellow. I might need to buy hundreds of bottles from your South Chamber of Commerce in the future." "Hehe, sir, if you want to buy it yourself, our South Chamber of Commerce will definitely give you a discount." The ocean beast headed north for another 2,000 to 3,000 miles. Gradually, the Wild Goose Falling River became narrower. Before it was 400 to 500 miles wide, even 700 to 800 miles wide, but now it was only 100 to 200 miles wide. Standing on the deck of the ocean beast, one could already see numerous towering mountains and numerous port cities along the banks of the Wild Goose Falling River. The Crow Taoist threw the empty bottle in his hand into the river, looked to the right and laughed, "I haven't seen you for 10 years. Today I can finally have a good fight." As if it was responding to the voice of the Crow Taoist, on the right side of the shore about 100 miles away, a mountain peak that was thousands of feet high suddenly released a towering fiery light. The fiery light was as red as the sun, and even the color of the nearby river had changed. It was a sea of sparkling orange. "Haha, I'm going." The Black Crow Taoist greeted Su Chongjian, and a pair of huge black wings stretched out from his back. With a flap of the wings, his body soared into the sky and shot towards the direction of the fiery light. On the way, his body was surrounded by a black airflow that looked like a dark cloud. It was powerful and oppressive. "Senior, take care." Su Chongjian's voice was heard. Yichun squinted his eyes. He saw a vague human figure standing in the middle of the fiery light. Seriously speaking, this human figure was not something that he could see. It was just that the aura of the opponent was way too powerful, and was captured by Yichun's soul power, which automatically formed a shadow. It was just like a blind man who had familiarized himself with a certain environment over a long period of time. Another astral-reaching realm warrior. Yichun slowly let out a breath of hot air. "Captain Su, are the wings of the Black Crow Taoist the Zhen Yuan that you mentioned?" After the Black Crow Taoist had left, the pressure on the crowd had disappeared, so someone could not help but ask. Su Chongjian laughed. "The Zhen Yuan transformation is indeed one of the abilities of the astral-reaching realm warriors, but unless they have no other choice, very few people would use it. If you think about it carefully, you will understand. With the power of a clasping Yuan realm warrior, all of them can transform their Zhen Qi. However, compared to a warrior who can transform his Zhanqi using a martial skill, which one is more powerful? Of course, a warrior who can transform his Zhanqi using a martial skill is more powerful. Directly transforming his Zhanqi into a physical form is no different from a normal attack, it is just a bit more flashy. Indeed, it is the same for astral-reaching realm warriors. The wings of the Black Crow Taoist are actually a martial art, called the Great Black Crow Art. It is much more powerful than the normal Jin Yuan transformation. Not only can it increase the speed, it can also increase the speed of the Zhen Yuan circulation. It is one of the most powerful martial arts of the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School. The Sky-Flying Devil Martial School? Is it the rank 6 martial school of the Black Dragon Empire? The Black Crow Taoist is a powerful warrior from the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School. I see. None of them were stupid. With just a little reminder, they immediately knew about the background of the Black Crow Taoist priest. All of them were dumbfounded. In their eyes, a grade 6 martial institution was definitely a colossus. If a grade 9 to grade 7 martial institution was considered a big martial institution, then a grade 6 martial institution could be considered as a super martial institution. They could easily destroy a small country or a big martial institution. Boom! In everyone's sight, that mountain that had exploded with a fiery light suddenly shattered into pieces and collapsed. The shockwave turned into a solid substance, spreading out in all directions. The Black Crow Taoist is fighting against someone, shattering a mountain with a single move. That's so powerful. Yi Chun was trying to simulate the fight with his soul power, but the fight between the Black Crow Taoist and that person was way too fast. Within a single moment, hundreds of moves had already been launched, and Yi Chun didn't have enough time to react. If he tried to simulate the fight by force, he would only end up with nothing but chaos. The ocean beast didn't slow down at all. Within half an hour, it had already moved over 500 miles, leaving that shattered mountain far behind, until the ocean beast couldn't see anything anymore. 10 days later, the Wild Goose Falling River narrowed again, from over 100 miles to 50 miles. Early morning, Yi Chun pushed open the cabin door, walked out, and took a deep breath of fresh air. After 20 days of hard training, my great mystery art has broken into the 8th level. The quality of my Zhanqi has already surpassed the Zhanqi cultivated with low-rank Earth Realm martial arts, but the quantity is still a bit lower. Yi Chun hadn't practiced any low-rank Earth Realm martial arts, but he had seen some early clasping Yuan Realm martial artists who had practiced low-rank Earth Realm martial arts. Comparing them with the 8th level of the Great Mystery Art, Yi Chun could easily figure out how powerful the 8th level of the Great Mystery Art was. Gazing into the distance, Ji Hao saw 2 straight canyons faintly visible. In the afternoon, people went to the deck to sunbathe. Su Chongjian pointed at the front and said, "About 300 to 400 miles away, we'll see the most famous natural moat gorge on the Wild Goose Falling River." Natural moat gorge. The one that was split into 2 by someone? The bearded middle-aged man couldn't help but change his expression. Split into 2 by someone? Yi Chun was shocked. From 300 to 400 miles away, he could already tell that the natural moat gorge was enormous and tall, at least 10 times larger than the windy mountain where the Sky Cloud Martial School was located. Who was able to split it into 2? That kind of power was way too terrifying. Su Chongjian said 500 years ago, the natural moat gorge wasn't a gorge, nor was it called the natural moat gorge. Instead, it was called the Sky Pillar Mountain, standing on the bank of the Wild Goose Falling River. It was 18,000 meters high, and occupied thousands of miles in radius. One day 2 life and death realm warriors were battling there. One of them, who was called the Battle King, threw out a sword attack and directly cut the Sky Pillar Mountain in half. Half of the mountain was forcibly moved to the center of the Wild Goose Falling River, forming a huge valley that was more than 10 kilometers wide. It also created a new branch, which is the current Natural Moat Valley Waterway, which is thousands of miles long. A fight between 2 life and death realm martial artists, and the Battle King split the Sky Pillar Mountain into 2 with a single sword move. Yi Chun gasped in shock. As the ocean beast approached, people finally saw the natural moat gorge. This gorge was 17,000 to 18,000 meters high, and was divided into 2 parts. The periphery of both parts of the gorge was steep, like the silhouettes of mountains, while the inside part of the gorge was perfectly straight. As Su Chongjian said, The two parts of the gorge were cut into two by someone with a sword, thus forming a perfectly straight inner part of the gorge. The height of the two parts of the gorge was equal, and the inner part of the gorge was perfectly straight. We can't go into the natural moat gorge. Let's go through the main road on the side. Every time they passed by this place, Su Chongjian would remind the members of the Chamber of Commerce, and this time was no exception. Don't worry, Deacon, we don't want to die yet. The member of the Chamber of Commerce, who was controlling the direction of the ocean beast, smiled. This time Yichun couldn't help but ask, what's so special about this gorge? Why can't we go through it? Su Chongjian rubbed his own chin and responded, you'll know soon. The long waterway flashed across, and two waterways appeared in front of the ocean beast. One led to the natural moat gorge, while the other led to the main road of the Wild Goose Falling River. The ocean beasts were already very, very close to the natural moat gorge. Compared to the natural moat gorge, the ocean beasts were even smaller than ants. The strong contrast between the ocean beasts and the natural moat gorge made all the people on the ship fall into a trance and feel a subtle fear. Buzz! All of a sudden, without any reason, a terrifyingly sharp sense of power spread over from the natural moat gorge and shrouded the ocean beast. Everyone's faces turned pale, and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. Puff! Unexpectedly, Yichun was even weaker than those rich people, who only knew a little bit about martial arts. He opened his mouth and let out a mouthful of blood, which splashed on the deck. Su Chongjian glanced at Yichun in surprise. Yichun was an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, but why couldn't he withstand the sense of power released from the natural moat gorge? This had never happened before. Not to mention that this place was still a short distance away from the natural moat gorge, so the sense of power released from the natural moat gorge wasn't that great. After being surprised for a while, Jihao stopped worrying about it and said, the reason why we can't go through the natural moat gorge is that back then, when the Battle King split the Sky Pillar Mountain open, the remaining sword intent still lingered in the natural moat gorge for 500 years. If we go into the natural moat gorge rashly, our souls would definitely be crushed by that terrifying sword intent, and we would be dead for sure. It's said that some astral-reaching realm martial artists have gone into the natural moat gorge, but since then, no one has ever seen them, and they are most likely dead. Chapter 177. The sword intent that hasn't dissipated for 500 years? Just now, when the fierce aura spread out, Yichun immediately knew that it was the sword intent. After all, he had almost reached the entry level of the sword intent, so he knew more about it than the others. Because of this, when the two sword intents confronted each other, Yichun's sword intent was suddenly shattered, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Hearing Su Chongjian say that this was the remaining sword intent of the Battle King from 500 years ago, Yichun couldn't help but be shocked. After 500 years, this sword intent hadn't dissipated yet, which meant that it was definitely not only the entry-level sword intent, but something even higher than the entry-level sword intent. As for what kind of sword intent surpassed the entry-level sword intent, Yichun didn't know. Life and death realm warriors are indeed powerful. If the sword intent of the natural moat gorge was at its peak, who could possibly block it? Perhaps only life and death realm warriors could. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Yichun sighed slightly. He didn't know what to feel. A strange look appeared on Yichun's face. The broken sword, which had been staying quietly in the storage ring, suddenly started shaking slightly, as if something was attracting it. Ding! Dang! Dang! The broken sword was divided into two parts. One was the upper part, and the other was the hilt and the lower part of the sword. Now the two parts, which were originally one, were rushing up at an extremely high speed, bumping against the space wall of the storage ring and letting out clear metal clangs. Is it? Yichun thought of a possibility. The broken sword might be the Battle King's sword, or it might have something to do with the natural moat gorge. Back in the Northwest auction, he remembered that the auctioneer had said that this broken sword had a history of 500 years, and 500 years ago, the Battle King had fought against a life and death realm warrior. This is unbelievable. This broken sword is probably the Battle King's sword, and now it's being summoned by the sword intent, trying to rush out of the storage ring. Yichun wasn't worried that the broken sword would run away. The space wall of the storage ring was very solid, and a broken sword which had already lost its spirit couldn't possibly break through the space wall. unless it had the power to break the space. The ocean beast flew past the natural moat gorge. When it was the closest to the natural moat gorge, the frequency of the broken sword clashing against the space wall abruptly increased. Within a single moment, it had clashed against the space wall for at least tens of hundreds of times, letting out waves of raging fire sparks that even melted some low-grade spirit stones that were standing close to it. However, this was only temporary. As the ocean beast moved further away from the natural moat gorge, the frequency of the broken sword's attacks gradually decreased, and eventually quieted down completely, lying quietly in the storage ring. Taking a deep breath, Yi-chan thought to himself, I don't have the strength to enter the natural moat gorge right now. Once I'm strong enough, I might be able to go in and take a look. I'll see if the broken sword is really the warlord's sword. Also, the only broken part of the sword might be in there. The final destination of the ocean beast was the Three River City, the largest port city in the spirit-reaching country. Sanjiang City Port. There were people coming and going at the pier, and there were all kinds of ships docked at the riverside. There were cargo ships, passenger ships, and even warships. There were no less than 100 of them, densely packed together. People, the Three River City is one of the branches of the South Chamber of Commerce. This is the final destination, please get off the ship. The ocean beast docked at the pier, and Su Chongjian stood on the deck and said to the crowd, I'm going to the Elephant Mountain Nation. It seems that I'll have to take a ship. I'm going to the Gray Mystery Nation, but it's a bit far. I'll rest in the Three River City for a couple of days first. Only a few of them had agreed to go to the spirit-reaching city at the beginning. The others only boarded the ship because the ocean beast was fast. Otherwise, they would have taken other routes which would have been much shorter. After getting off the ship, Yi-chan didn't start his journey right away. There were still 200,000 to 300,000 miles to go from here to the Gray Mystery Nation, so he didn't have to rush. The Three River City was very prosperous, but also very crowded. Walking on the street, Yi-chan glanced over and saw a huge crowd of people everywhere. My dear guest, I'm sorry, our restaurant is full. Would you like to try other restaurants? My dear guest, our restaurant is full as well. Other restaurants might have some vacant rooms. I'm really sorry, my dear guest. To be honest with you, all the restaurants in the outer city of the Three River City are full every day. I'm afraid that only the inner city can have vacant rooms. After walking into 7 or 8 restaurants in a row, Yi-chan found that all of them were full. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. The population density of the Three River City was indeed amazing. But of course from this one could tell how prosperous the Three River City was. I'd better go to the inner city. Famous big cities usually had inner cities such as Luo City, where the Yi family was located, the Happy City, where the Northwest Auction House was located, and the Gale City, which was located on the Great Devil Grassland. All of these cities had an inner city, and normally only people with high social status or great wealth could live in the inner city. After paying the expensive entrance fee, Yi-chan walked into the inner city. Compared to the outer city, the streets in the inner city were wider, but the population density was much lower. At least people didn't have to rub shoulders with each other. Yi-chan, it's you. A familiar voice came from behind him. Yi-chan turned around, saw the face of the man, then grinned and said, Lin Yu, long time no see. Why are you also in the Three River City? The man who had called Yi-chen's name was Lin Yu, the head disciple of the Dragon Tiger Mountain, a rank 7 institution in the Elephant Mountain Nation. Back in the Tomb of the Heaven Dream ancient region, he and Yi-chan and Lung Wuqing had fought against martial zombies together. Lin Yu laughed and said, Should I ask you? The Elephant Mountain Nation is not far from the Spirit-Speaking Nation, but your Windy Nation is quite far from here. I came out to gain some experience. Gain experience? Good idea. But the leader thinks that I'm not powerful enough, and wants me to gain more experience. Lin Yu showed an envious look. Yi-chan smiled. He could understand the leader of the Dragon Tiger Mountain. He had spent a lot of effort to raise a hidden dragon-ranked martial artist, and he couldn't let him die before he matured. I'm planning to stay in the Three River City for a couple of days. What about you? I'm here for a party, why don't you come as well? No matter what, you're the most powerful young martial artist among the 9 nations. You're qualified to join this party. Yi-chan was confused. What party? It's held by a hidden dragon-ranked martial artist from the spirit-speaking nation. The invited guests are all hidden dragon-ranked martial artists from the few neighboring countries, and the Elephant Mountain Nation is right next to the spirit-speaking nation. I think I'm not going. They didn't invite me. It's not appropriate. Why not? Usually, people come uninvited. I'm sure this time will be the same. Helplessly, Yi-chan had no choice but to accept the invitation. Outside a dazzling and magnificent restaurant, Lin Yu said, "Let's go in. The party will be held in the yard behind the restaurant." Entering the restaurant, the two walked across the lobby and came to a large, luxurious yard behind the restaurant. The party would be held in the third luxurious yard. "Please come in." Outside the yard, a waiter was waiting for them. Lin Yu nodded, then walked straight in with Yi-chan. This large, luxurious yard belonged to the restaurant and was used to entertain distinguished guests. Every yard occupied an extremely large area, and the interior of the yard was quite unique, with fake mountains, green waters, pavilions, terraces, and other buildings. Walking into the colorful garden, Yi-chan slightly narrowed his eyes. On the broad, flat ground there were only around 10 young people, both male and female. Without any surprise, all of these people were clasping Yuan realm martial artists. 2 of them were even mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Strong Zhen Qi vibrations were rippling like water. "Haha, brother Lin Yu, you're here as well." The handsome young man who had been talking and laughing noticed Lin Yu, stood up and said with a smile, It seems that I'm late." Lin Yu cupped his hands and said to Yi-chan in a low voice, "This is the host of this party. His name is Qi Xiaofeng, ranked 38th in the last hidden dragon ranking, and is now a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, very powerful." Hearing Lin Yu, Yi-chan glanced at him. Qi Xiaofeng's body was well proportioned, and he had restrained his Zhan Qi. His eyes didn't look as fierce as before. Instead, they were as gentle as a spring breeze. However, Yi-chan dared not to underestimate him. All the top 50 of the last hidden dragon ranking were early clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and now that 2 years had passed, it wouldn't be strange for him to become a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. "I was wondering who it was. It's Lin Yu. I haven't seen you for a long time. I guess you've improved a lot. But if you don't have any tricks up your sleeves, you might be eliminated in this hidden dragon ranking." The arrogant young man standing beside Qi Xiaofeng didn't stand up either. Instead, he threw a glance at Lin Yu and said. Lin Yu responded, "Just so, how can I compare with you? Who's that kid standing beside you? I've never seen him before. Don't tell me you're treating this place like a tea party, where anyone can come in." Lin Yu laughed and responded, "I brought him here, of course he's qualified." "Oh, tell me." Qi Xiaofeng was a bit curious about Yi-chan as well. He believed that Lin Yu wouldn't bring an irrelevant person here. Lin Yu introduced Yi-chan to the crowd and said, "He's Yi-chan, the most powerful young martial artist in the 9 nations, including our Elephant Mountain country. Even Yuan Henging had suffered a great loss in his hands. I guess he's still recovering." Yuan Henging had suffered a great loss in his hands? The crowd all fixed their eyes on Yi-chan. Qi Xiaofeng grinned and said, "Yuan Henging's power is not to be underestimated. Since you've defeated him, you're indeed qualified to join this party. Come this way, please." Facing the crowd's gazes, Yi-chan showed no change in his expression. He found a seat and sat down, after which beautiful maids came over to pour him some tea or wine. "I was wondering how powerful you are, but you've only defeated Yuan Henging. To be honest, you really don't have any powerful martial artists in the 9 nations." Gao Yuan took a sip of the tea and said carelessly. Sitting beside Yi-chan, Lin Yu said, "That guy named Gao Yuan, although he's quite arrogant, he's actually quite powerful. He was ranked 46th in the last hidden dragon ranking competition, and is now a peak-level early-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. He's much more powerful than Wuxia and Yuan Henging, and I heard that he's been through quite a lot of adventures, and has mastered a powerful martial art." Lin Yu had brought Yi-chan here for some other reason. For example, he wanted to let the crowd know that there were still some powerful young martial artists in the 9 nations. "Ladies and gentlemen, Murong Qingcheng is late." At this moment, a silvery voice came from outside the backyard. Soon, a young woman in a purple dress walked in. She was about 20 years old, had a slim and graceful body, and her face was covered with a thin veil. Although no one could see her real face, judging from her beautiful face, she must be a peerless beauty. A gentle breeze blew across, and a natural orchid-like fragrance drifted over, which was even more intoxicating than the aroma of flowers in the backyard. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.